right. I think we are live. Let's double check.
Yep, we
There
are there.
Okay. Very good. Hello, everybody. We are live today, and we are having on our good friend and partner in our new live event coming up in December. This is Dr. Grace Lee. And we just wanted to bring Grace on real quick, just for about 20, 30 minutes today, and just kind of discuss kind of a little bit of her expertise, and then also kind of talk about what it kind of takes in order to take your business to the next level. So Grace has definitely been one that has mastered the art of leveling up. She has been able to overcome incredible odds and take her business to amazing heights and build the business to something that we can all aspire to. And she's done it very fast. And I think that one thing we've always kind of noticed about Grace is that she sets the bar very high for herself and then does what is required to meet that challenge. So we're just going to kind of talk about those kind of shifts. And again, Ash and Jake here.
Hey guys.
And hi, Grace. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about next month, that's for sure.
I know. We are too.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about next month, and I'm sure you've seen us kind of posting about it and stuff like that, but it's something we're really excited about. And then we actually have another partner who is not able to make it on the live today, but we'll kind of discuss him but he will be there for the live event.
Absolutely. So I would love for you to just introduce yourself to everyone and give them a little bit of a background. I will tell you that I'm in awe of Grace and her story. And it's probably one of the more inspiring stories I've ever heard of. Please, introduce yourselves to Jake's audience. That'd be awesome.
Oh, well, thank you so much for this privilege. Well, everyone, if you are watching, I am sharing there. I got nothing to hide. A lot of my story has been on different other people's podcasts as well, and my own. So really what began my entrepreneur journey was a lot longer ago than I was aware of. Right. And what happened was when I was 8 years old, my nuclear family, and nuclear are like your parents and your siblings. I had an older brother. So my nuclear family, we were involved in a car accident. And my mom was driving at the time and she had a head-on collision. She was in a coma and she passed away. Right. And I was the second most injured after her. I sustained a neck injury. It was like a cervical, like a dislocation, and there was a fracturing there. So I had to be bedridden for months. And I was wearing a halo brace. I don't know if you're not familiar with that. It's one of those things, that metal rings that go around your head and there's like pins in your skull, like that, the metal brace. And I wore that for almost a year, a good 10 months of that year. But so learning how to walk again, right? I'm familiar with that, having all my limbs atrophy, I watched my skin rotting, my hair was falling out in that hospital bed. And in that moment was when I had discovered sometime afterward that my mom had passed away. So I had lost all sense of purpose, right? At that time, I didn't understand what was going on and what life was going to be like. So as it happened, my father was there as well, but he didn't have a lot of injuries, just a couple of broken ribs, and he was discharged the next day. And he had to learn how to take care of me and my brother, right? Although he was present inside the house, he wasn't present, if you know what I mean. He was there, but he wasn't there. So actually growing up, I never knew him, right? Even though he was a presence in the house, he was there, and I knew I had to call him the Chinese word for father because we spoke Cantonese. But I didn't know why. I didn't know who he was. So now that my mom passed away, I'm in the hospital. I had to get to know him, and it was very awkward.
Yeah.
1 year later, he remarried, and he had a couple of children in that new marriage. And he came into my bedroom and he basically told me, Grace, I have a family now and my hands are kind of tied. I don't have the resources to take care of you. And I was on my own. He said, I just can't, you understand. Like his thing was, you understand, I got so much going on and I have two little young girls now. So then from that moment.
And how old were you?
I was 10. Yeah, I was 10. I left the house, right? I left the house and I was completely on my own. I was hopeless. I was depressed and I was suicidal, right? And there was like 4 years that went by when I didn't feel like I had a purpose. And every day I was thinking that, you know what, I could die right now. No one would know and no one would care. 4 years of that. When I was 11, I started working in a restaurant. And when you're a minor working in a restaurant, it's illegal. So I didn't get paid for it, but I could eat. And I was there for food. And lo and behold, these customers, two elderly clients, customers came in to eat. They settled their bill, and they're very astute. When they settled their bill, I was their waitress. I was working as a waitress. I was doing dishes. That was my whole existence at that time. And they turned to me and they said, "Grace, do you need a place to stay? Why don't you come and live with us?" Just like that.
Hmm.
Everything I owned could fit in a single backpack. I followed them home after my shift, and I was so desperate. I didn't even think about how dangerous that was. I just followed them home.
Mhm.
So here they are. I'm following these strangers home to their house. They, drive up to this very modest wooden yellow home that's like a bungalow. Lead me through the front door, through the steps, and then there's a narrow staircase that's carpeted. Turn right, and there's the biggest bedroom I've ever seen. All yellow walls, sloping ceiling, furniture from the 1960s in British, right? Cherry wooden furniture. And they turned to me and they said, "Grace, welcome home. You can stay here for as long as you want." That's it. Welcome home. But I didn't trust them.
Mhm.
I couldn't trust them. I felt like, okay, I don't know how long I can stay here. So I got to stay on my toes. And I kept them at arm's length because I didn't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
2 years this went by. And I was 14. 2 years went by until I was 16. I was testing their sincerity, testing them, just rebelling, testing them. And then 2 years went by until one morning when I was 16. I woke up. There was a bedroom window that overlooks the backyard. I heard they're a husband and wife. I heard the husband in the backyard talking. He was just talking to one of the neighbors. So I went, sat at the ledge by the window, and I had my face pressed up against the window, trying to look down to see him talking to the neighbor. And that was the first time I heard his voice. I didn't hear his voice. I heard his voice the first time I actually heard him. And it was in that moment that I realized that couple, they're the real deal.
Mhm.
As I want, for as long as I need to, they meant it.
Mhm.
For the first time in my whole young life, at the age of 16, tears of gratitude started streaming down my face. I was crying tears of gratitude, right? And why am I telling you this? Well, how is this relevant to tomorrow? Here's how it's relevant. Because in that moment, I realized that I want more for my life.
Mhm.
I stopped giving up, right? Up until then, I had given up. I had felt like this was the status quo of my life, that I couldn't have anything more. I couldn't be anything more.
Right.
And finally, when I realized it through gratitude, I realized what I could have. That was when I made a decision that I want more
Mhm.
and that I am committed to do whatever it takes to get it.
Mhm.
However, at that time, the only way I knew how to get it was to go to school, get good grades, and get a good job,
Mhm.
because that's what you're told.
Mhm.
Totally.
Right?
Mhm.
The school system, which I called the cultural hypnotic mechanism, right? Or the indoctrination, the government indoctrination camps of public education. That's what I call those. They
Mhm.
indoctrinate you, which is they program you to believe that the only way to make money and to earn a living is through a job,
Mhm.
which is not true, right? You, when you're in a job, you get paid for showing up and for staying there and doing what you're told. But then they decide how much you get paid. They don't pay you for what your knowledge is worth. They pay you for what the task is worth
Mhm.
to
Right.
them. And you have no say in that. Right.
Mhm.
But that was the only thing I knew how. So then the only thing I knew how in my 16-year-old self was I got to go to school, but how am I going to afford it? I can't afford it. The deal from my adoptive parents was I could stay there, but they didn't give me an allowance. They didn't pay for me to go to school, and they didn't pay for me. There was no money. So
Mhm.
then here I made a commitment, and then I said to myself, "Oh my God, how am I going to afford it?" You see, the question I asked was important. I didn't say I can't afford this.
Mhm.
Oh, for sure.
I didn't say I can't. The minute I say I can't afford it, then it's true. I can't afford it, and I would never be where I am today.
That's
Right.
an
But
amazing point.
right.
Yeah.
Instead of saying I can't afford this, I said to myself, how can I afford this?
Mhm.
And that's when, in that moment, when you say, how can I afford it? Instead of saying, I can't afford this, I can't do it. Instead of saying that, asking a question taps into the resourcefulness of your brain, of your mind, which is
Mhm.
more powerful than you know. And that was how. And when I was 16, I became creative and innovative to come up with the funds to pay for college. And that was when I learned about scholarships. So by the time I was 18, I also learned about, now I'm working in a restaurant, they give me tips. I didn't get paid, but I got tips. So
Mhm.
when I treat people better, they give me more tips. Holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving Day, they give more tips and people are more generous. By the time I graduated when I was 18, I had $60,000 saved up in tips only, not salary.
That's crazy.
Wow.
60,000. Because I asked the question, how can I afford it? Instead of just saying, I can't do this, I can't afford it.
Right.
Because I asked that question. And then I got a scholarship that paid for all 4 years of my undergrad, my bachelor's degree, which is that degree right there.
Mhm.
Love it.
Right. So now my bachelor's degree covered, so long as I maintain a GPA that goes up every year. They're mean about that.
Right,
Like,
right.
year one, you had to have a 75% average. Year two, you got to do 80%, and it just keeps going up and up and up.
Right.
So that's the first principle I learned. It was that asking questions creates your world. Your belief creates your world. The second principle I learned was that, yes, it's true that the GPA goes up every year. But here's the thing. The second principle I learned was that the outcomes you create depends on your commitment level.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How committed you are is in direct correlation to the outcomes you can produce because of your commitment. We are looking for serious, not curious.
Mhm.
Yep.
Right? I was serious. I got to keep the scholarship because I knew there was no other way. So what if
Right.
there was no other way? Then people who tend to have burned the boat, right? People tend to succeed. If you burn the boat, if there is no other way, if this was the way, then people tend to succeed.
Mhm.
I kept that scholarship for 4 years. I was never a grade A student. You know, I grew up a delinquent, you know, English was not my first language.
Mhm.
I'm usually from Hong Kong. I didn't always talk like this with a clear accent. I did not. Right. And I was the introverted, I was shy, I had no self-confidence. I was suicidal.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when you are committed, when you are serious, not curious, you tend to succeed. So that's the second thing I learned. The third thing that happened to me was then I was still had that thinking that I got to go to school, get good grades, and get a good job. And because I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, going to do a master's degree and then a PhD is a great way to delay a decision.
Yes, it is.
We talked about this last week,
Yes,
and
it
it's so
is.
true.
Yeah. Yep.
And I admit I had to delay the decision
Yep.
because I was so unprepared for the marketplace. I was scared. I was scared that what if I put myself out there? I have my bachelor's now. What if I put myself out there and nobody wants to pay me? No one wants to hire me. I couldn't accept that failure. So then I went on to do a master's degree. And that's that degree right there,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
my master's. And then it was like, okay, I have my master's degree. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. So then what else did I do? I did my PhD. That's that degree right here. That's my PhD. Okay, so now I'm in a PhD program, and then there's 1 year left before I defend my dissertation, and I know I'm graduating. I felt the doom like nobody's business. I
Yeah.
was not prepared. I don't know what I'm gonna do, and what am I gonna do? Another PhD?
Right.
As no, I'm out of decision. And now 9 years has passed. College for 9 years has passed. 3 degrees in 9 years. And that's a very short period of time because I did my master's degree in record speed. That's how it happened.
Should have taken longer. You should have drug it out a little bit. Like a normal person. No.
I couldn't because I did my master's in Scotland and I was running out of funds.
Yeah. Yeah.
I only had 1 year to graduate, or else I would be bankrupt and I would have to leave without finishing.
Yeah.
Again, the second time in my life where it's either do or die. And when that is true, when you must do this,
Mm-hmm.
you tend to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mhm.
That's the second time it happened. It was during my master's degree. So I finished in 1 year before I ran out of money.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah, because I could not accept not finishing the degree. I couldn't accept that. So so the principle then is that you get what you can accept. In
Mhm.
life, you get the level at which you will accept.
Mhm.
If you will only accept the status quo, then you just get the status quo.
Yep.
Right.
That's what you can accept.
It's a
Right.
very good point. Yeah. So okay. So then you're at the end of your academic career after 9 long years.
Yeah.
You're out, and so you have a bachelor's degree, you have a master's degree, you have a PhD in neuroscience, correct? And then from there, you just kind of followed that path and went into corporate.
I
Okay, so
did.
you did. You've kind of said, okay, well, I can't do any more school. So now I'm just going to continue down the path of what I'm supposed to do,
Right.
and that's going to corporate. But that too, just like your school, was very short-lived, right? I mean, that was a very short time. I mean, you can tell the story, but you quickly realize that that's not the path that was meant for someone who challenges themselves like you.
Right.
So
Definitely. And it wasn't just that, but I was constantly feeling undervalued.
yeah.
And it wasn't just because I had a PhD. It was that I felt like I wasn't being paid for what my expertise was worth.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I was being paid for what the job was worth. Yeah. But I also wasn't given a lot of responsibility.
Hmm.
I felt like I wasn't contributing to the greater good of the world like I wanted to. I was just contributing to increasing the company's bottom line, which is
Right.
most jobs.
Yeah.
Right. And I failed to see how I was impacting the people I really wanted to help.
Hmm.
Right. Because I was so far removed from it, so far, well, how they say in science, I was so far upstream
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
that help. And I just wanted to have more impact.
Hmm.
I wanted my life to matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And as most academics, I wanted my knowledge not to be wasted. And
Mhm.
that's so important to a lot of academics when you've invested so much in school, right? I couldn't accept it to not use what I know. And so it was not the right fit, not just because of the corporate red tape, but because I felt like I wasn't contributing my fullest and
Mhm.
that I knew I was meant for something more. I just didn't know how to get it. So there was a calling on my heart that I had to go out there and create it because there was not a single job application I looked at that spoke to me.
Mhm.
And it wasn't for the lack of looking. I
Right.
was scouring the job boards for a new job because I was thinking to myself, the only way to make money is to get a job.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I was looking hundreds of job applications. Not a single one, not one spoke to
Mhm.
me.
Mhm. Mhm. And so you decided to leave and decided to go off and begin your consulting career. And you said you started actually kind of consulting and mentoring people during your PhD process. So you kind of knew exactly that you were capable of this. It excited you. It kind of
Mhm.
felt like you were bringing value to someone directly, and you were able to kind of stretch your academic expertise and the value you bring. But I think that a lot of people actually that hear a lot of people that might hear this, I think have all kind of taken that step and kind of jumped out there and put themselves out there and started their careers, their coaching careers, their consulting careers, or starting agencies, stuff like
Right.
that, just like all three of us did. But I think that um and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, yeah, you started it and you went into that build phase, that initial phase. But you have been able, this is what really always excited me about your story, is the fact that you've been able to actually leap ponds, so to speak. You've outgrown these ponds very quickly and went searching for your next pond. But it seemed like you always kind of had that pond in view, no matter what. Like you always knew the next step that you wanted to take. And what I always thought was interesting about your story and how you operate is that you take those steps before you truly are ready, right? You've always kind of done this before, and which is really difficult to do. I mean, I can speak from experience, but I mean,
Right.
doing things before you feel like you're ready, you never really feel like you're ready until you were ready a long time ago. And now you have like these growing pains. You're like, oh
Mhm.
my God, this isn't working, or this isn't happening or unfolding the way it should be. I should have done this a long time ago. That I wish I would have done that 5 years ago thing that you tell yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you say that every once in a while about something, but probably not much because you seem to do it at the right time, if not before you're ready. And that is a big mental block that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have. A lot of people, a lot of coaches, consultants, and people in our industry have, is that getting past that mental block to actually make the decision to go before you're ready to go. And
Yeah.
and by that I mean, maybe hiring people, maybe creating new partnerships or new offers, or investing in massive coaching, and surrounding yourselves with people and saying yes to things. I mean, kind of maybe speak a little bit about that that mental kind of approach that you have in order to, where this is not a problem for you, because it doesn't sound like it is.
Okay, so I didn't start out this way.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wasn't born like this. There's no such a thing as born like this, right? The only thing I was born like was looking Asian because my parents are both Asian. But
Right.
there's no there's no born like, right? So okay, so here's the thing: ready is not a feeling. We have the misconception that ready is a feeling. We will feel ready when the time comes. We will feel ready when fill in the blank.
Mhm.
Right? And when you make that clause, then you're looking for something that does not exist, and so therefore that's why a lot of us set goals and never meet them.
Mhm.
Right? Because ready is not a feeling. Ready is a decision.
Yeah.
You are ready when you decide, you know what, I'm ready, I'm just going to go for it. You know
Mhm.
what, I'm ready, I'm going to do this. You know what, I'm ready, I'm going to achieve this and this in this period of time.
Mhm.
Whatever comes after I am ready is which you are declaring, and that is which you are committing to. But you're
Mhm.
committing to yourself, right? Having
Right.
accountability just multiplies that success, right?
Mhm.
So being ready is a decision.
Mhm.
And you see, most people, we've been programmed by the cultural hypnotic mechanism and the government indoctrination camps in public education. We've been
Cool.
programmed. we, we've been programmed to believe that when something is not working, right? When we work on something for a certain period of time and is not working for us, then it's not working, and then therefore we quit.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right.
And we've been programmed to be so honed in on fears, right? And feeling that, you know what, I'm probably not the right person to do this. I am not the right person to do X. The chances are, yeah, that's probably true. You're not the right person. Right now, you're not the right person right now.
Mhm.
And so you just got to get over it and move on. Acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I'm not the right person right now. But how do I become the right person so that I can have the outcome I want?
Mhm.
And the key is you got to do it afraid, because chances are you're going to be afraid, and you will be afraid because neurologically our brains are programmed to be afraid because it's a productive mechanism. So if
Right.
you're afraid, it is a positive sign to be afraid, because then you are now knowing that you're doing something you've never done before. What
Mhm.
happens when you do something you've never done before? You get something you've never had before. So
Yes.
there's no way around it. There's no
Mhm.
way around it. It's if you told me that I'm gonna do this huge venture and I'm not afraid at all, then there's kind of like a bit of concern. Maybe you have unrealistic expectations.
Right.
So fear itself is not a reason to quit or not get started. It
Mhm.
is a reason we give ourselves, right, so that we can be off the hook, so that we don't have to step up. But
Right.
sooner or later, it'll come back. And how does it come back? It shows up in our heart. It shows up as regret. It shows up as, guilt. It shows up as, oh, what if, what if, what if?
Mhm.
It shows up as all these different things. And therefore, why do we have these feelings? Is because we are not in our most aligned career path. And that's why this happens. And
Mhm.
I believe in my years of doing biomedical research in health, a lot of our physical health ailments come from a result of not being aligned to who we are, the
Mhm.
sicknesses we have in our bodies.
Hmm.
It starts with emotion, feeling that we didn't quite live our fullest. We didn't quite be authentic. We weren't quite true to ourselves. And over time, it can accumulate to become shame and guilt. And when that accumulates, that's when the physical ailments becomes manifested in the physical world. It's in the emotional world first and in the spiritual world first. We feel it in our heart, right?
Mhm.
But gradually it comes manifested in our physical world. A lot of the ailments, if you look at all the causes of the incurable diseases today, most of them have no known cause, right? Only a small portion of them are genetic. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's a clear cause,
Mhm.
Right.
or there's a discovered cause. Most of them, we call them sporadic diseases. Sporadic means there's no known cause. Nobody could figure out this is what causes it. And remember, causality is not the same thing as a correlation.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And why is that? Is because a lot of these causes are accumulation of things that we never thought of. We've chalked them away. We've pushed them aside. We've told ourselves other things to get through the day. We got to tell ourselves all these things and make these things, make meaning to things just so we can get through the day, just so that we can feel better.
Mhm.
Why do that when you know that what if on the other side of all that fear, what if on the other side of all that inaction, what if on the other side of all that anxious apprehension, that you can have the life that you want, that you can design it, and that you have everything that you need inside of you already. What if that were true? How awesome would life be?
I think that,
I love that.
yeah, I mean, I think we've all kind of asked ourselves those questions, and we've all run into those moments of saying, well, what if, what if I actually invested, in myself at a different level, and I, joined a program or, hired a couple people. And so that, like, what if I did that? Because I see these other people kind of living this life and doing this business and having the business that I know I can have. So that at some point they made a decision that I haven't made yet,
Mhm.
right? Something has happened that I haven't experienced yet. And it's probably something that they did, a decision they made that I just haven't done yet.
Yep.
So it's always like, yeah, what if I was that person? But what is it that still stops people from doing that? Like, that's the question I have. And I mean, we've been stopped from doing it, and you recognize it afterwards. But I mean, you with your experience and research background, I mean, I don't know. I mean, can you provide a clear answer? Is there a clear answer to like what is really kind of holds people back, and what the hell do we do to not make that mistake again, even when you see it unfolding?
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that question. That's an excellent question. And here's the thing, for every person individually, they will have very unique responses to what's holding them back. Everybody will give a different reason,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
But the reason is not the reason,
Right.
right? Because what we experience, whenever you ask someone what's holding you back, they will give you what the symptoms are, and symptoms are what we feel, right? That's already in our physical world, because that's what we see, we feel, we rely on all our senses.
Hmm.
But everything that we can sense in our physical world is a manifestation of the world we cannot see.
Hmm.
It's in the subconscious. It's in the reason behind the reason, which is what scientists call the root cause,
Mhm.
the root problem. And most people aren't good at figuring out what the root problem is,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
they're already not good at figuring out what they're feeling and articulating that. Right. And I will submit to you that yes, there are so many individual reasons that people can give. But really, when it comes down to it, is that the focus is too much on the outcomes they don't desire rather than the outcomes they do desire. Because
Oh,
as soon as you
yep.
start to focus on undesirable outcomes and put the lens in focus on that, and the other one on the desirable outcome is so out of focus, because there's a lot of fear there of what if I don't make it?
Hmm.
Right.
Or what if, or even what if I do make it, and then what? What does that make me? Right. Well, no matter what, there's a movement between what's familiar into something that's completely unfamiliar or mostly unfamiliar. But the gap to get there always lies in what we don't know that we don't know.
Mhm.
That realm of knowledge, right, is always what we don't know, what we don't know. And that question that you asked, Jake, when you said that, what are all those other people doing? What decisions are they making that I just haven't made yet? And that is the beginning of the exploration of what is it that I don't know? Because it's not what you don't know that harms you, is what you think you know that just isn't so.
Hmm.
Right. Oh yeah.
That is the most harmful thing. So how do you mitigate that? Your question was, how do you mitigate that?
Right.
The easiest way to mitigate it, and you see, I always look for the easiest way, because we've been programmed again by the government indoctrination camps to look for the hardest way, because we believe that the hardest solution is always right.
Hmm.
Right.
Teach us that, oh, if it's really complicated, oh, that must be the right one.
Right.
Right. There's a physics principle called Occam's razor,
Hmm.
which says that the simplest solution is the best one. So the simplest way to ensure that you know, right, that you have that clarity of what you know that just isn't so, and to have clarity in what you don't know, is to be able to work with someone who's done what you want to do,
Mhm.
because they see things you don't yet see. They've gone through challenges that you will go through and that you don't know you will go through. And
Right.
they're able to give you a realistic expectation. They're able to educate your expectations.
Hmm.
And that is what helps you to build momentum and keep it going.
Hmm.
That's so true.
Hmm.
It is so true. And I think oftentimes, and I've always thought when I feel fear, that's the thing I'm meant to do. Like in my mind, I'm like, if I feel fear in that, I have to do it. Like
Mhm.
that's my signal to say, just keep going, keep moving forward. And I've always found that when I have, and we've experienced this in our business, like when we felt stuck or we felt just kind of frustrated and like, like we were missing, there was a link missing, or the bigger picture wasn't there, the perspective needed to shift. We turned to people we really trusted that have
Yeah.
been there and that have walked that road and can see things more clearly than we can, because we're so in our business, And so I think you're totally right. It's relying on people that have been there and can help you navigate that process in a more, I would say, confident and I don't know the word I'm looking for, but just, oh, sorry, our dog's about to go crazy. Sorry. In just a more effective way, right? They can help you understand some of the challenges. He's so loud. Some of the challenges you might experience, like you said, that you don't know you're going to experience. Boomer. and yeah, I think that's totally spot on. It's finding mentors, finding partners, finding people, coaches, whatever it might be that can help you.
I always kind of, I think when we've been able to bridge gaps, it is because of that. It's kind of like we push ourselves as far as we can really push ourselves without running into that we just don't know what we don't know kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's someone else kind of pulling us up the rest of the way. And that's, and you always say kind of like, reach up and ask for help. And well, it's really good that there's people out there reaching down and helping people up, And so I think that that's kind of when we've been able to bridge those gaps in our businesses, when we've kind of recognized that and kind of been pulled up into that next phase or pulled up into the next pond.
100%.
So it's impressive. But like you said, yeah, you said it earlier on, like we're looking for the committed and not the curious, right?
The serious, yeah.
Or the serious and not the curious. But it's that thing. I mean, that is even with going out and asking for help, like to your point, if you're not committed to it, that's not going to save you, right? I mean, if you're not committed, if you're not serious about that, and there's been things that have not hit, and there's things and goals that we have not hit. And I look back and I think like, what happened? I'm like, I didn't do everything that I probably could have done. It's like, was I curious about it, or was I serious about it? Yeah. I mean, and I never really thought about it in that way, but as soon as you said that, I started kind of just like playing back in my head going, oh man. Yeah. Cause there's, but I think that that's an excellent point, but
absolutely.
And so some of you watching this right now might be thinking, well, I am serious. I've always been serious. And how come I still I don't have the outcome I want, right? I have been serious. How come it's still not there, right? Right. So here's the thing. Serious doesn't mean all of a sudden there's a magic switch and you have everything that you desire.
Mm-hmm.
Serious just starts the journey on you're going to do whatever it takes. And so therefore, you're going to be persistent and consistent. Those two are important because persistence is important because the journey is hard. Mm-hmm. Consistency is important because the journey is long. Right?
Absolutely.
So serious starts you on that type of persistent consistency. Okay. However, to get the outcome you desire, there are things you don't know. And that's where someone else can come along and accelerate the learning curve. You can choose yourself, go through the trial and error, make all the mistakes, have an awesome story to tell. You can choose to do that. Of course, we all have two choices. Or we can choose to work with someone who's been there and has the exact success that you want, who's done the things successfully that you want to do, and have them coach you and mentor you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which I think is a perfect segue into why we created Knowledge to Profits Live.
Right. I think the four of us coming together brings such different aspects and such a great mix of phase and background experience and different approaches, but all kind of have been able to climb and build these businesses. And so that is a perfect segue. So
it is.
That's exactly why we are basically putting on our event next month, Knowledge Profit Live. And and Grace obviously is 1/4 of the presentation team. We actually have another partner, Myron Golden, who's going to be joining us on stage, and he is a good friend and mentor to Grace as well.
Yep.
So
Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be focused on next month during the event.
Yeah. So I'm bringing in my expertise on the brain, neuroscience, right? And how we can make better decisions as a business owner and as an expertise in a certain domain. What could we do to put that, to have conversations that are so compelling and clear and compelling that people will be willing to invest their resources to work with you. Right. And so if you understand human nature and you work with human nature, that will open the door and opportunity to be able to create any outcome you want than if you worked against human nature.
Absolutely.
Right? So this is all around how to present, how to have a conversation that creates the cash flow for your business.
Right, which is
so important.
Which is an amazing component, because the whole event, Knowledge to Profits Live, is going to be about really kind of leveraging and taking your expertise and kind of just honing it to build, high ticket programs, high ticket courses, and build a business that you can impact the amount of people that you've always imagined you've been able to impact,
Right.
and kind of create the business that you've always wanted to create, but do it in the most effective and efficient way. So everything from, developing the offers, how to, create the offers, conceive the offers, convert the offers, and then how to conduct them. So,
but not conducting in a way that not necessarily in a one-to-one fashion, right? It's in a way, it's that being able to design it so that it doesn't run you, you run it, right? It gives you the flexibility, the freedom. You're in control of how you fulfill on this offer, so much so that you can live the life that you've always wanted to live, and that's the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur, is that you have choice. Choice is the most powerful thing, right? All this that we've talked about is choice. It's making decisions, right? And so for me, that is such a cool part of it. One, it's like the creation of it. How do you convert it? But then how do you conduct it in such a way that you feel like you're in alignment and that you're in flow, and that you are creating or growing and scaling a business that really is aligned with what you want out of this life. Yeah. That's what's so amazing about it.
Right. And then being able to have the right kind of discussions and conversations to attract people to keep that machine not only flowing, but growing. And that's a really important part. So
Absolutely.
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it.
We're really excited.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great 2 days. Is there anything you'd like to add about the event? I mean, we kind of broke it down, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Myron Golden and myself, we've been friends, and he's been a mentor to me for a couple of years. And one thing that we recognize is that the education system is broken. Myron and I both, we talk about this, we speak on this, how broken the education system is, because the education system hasn't been teaching us the most important skill, right? The most important skill on how to take what we know, right? And to be able to communicate the worth of what we know, to be able to package it in such a way so that we can have the impact and the income that we desire, to be able to provide for ourselves, to provide for the people we care about, and to contribute to the causes that we care about. And that is what the education system does not teach us. It only teaches us how to pass an exam, and that you need to get a job after that and work for 20 years, 40 years. And hopefully at the end of that, maybe that company will take care of you. Right. So this is about taking back that control, right? But not needing to go back to school for another degree. This is a different look at qualification, a different perspective of it, right? We're not saying that in order for you to be an expert that you need another certification. This isn't about certificate-based education. This is about self-education. Because up until now, certificate-based education can make you a living, right? But self-education can make you a fortune.
Yeah.
So which would you rather have? Be qualified and be paid for the role that you do? Or would you rather know that you are qualified, more than qualified, and more than enough, and be able to achieve the abundance you know you are meant to have?
Absolutely.
The second one.
I mean, I know which one I pick.
we chose it.
We chose it.
Yeah,
that path is set.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And it's high. I mean, we talked about this in our last conversation, but it's absolutely liberating once you actually kind of make that decision and kind of and get serious instead
And
of
you
curious.
go all in on yourself.
Mhm, mhm.
You know, and there's a lot that goes into that, but I can say, and then thinking about who this event really is for, which I love that it's been designed to be more inclusive than exclusive, right? So it's for people that are potentially sitting in a corporate 9 to 5,
Mhm.
right? And but they have that tug, that pull that you felt, that I felt, that Jake felt, that most of us in the space have felt, but they have that pull, that tug for more. But where do you begin and how do you start? And then it's also for people that have been in the online space. They have built a business, but they're ready to scale it, level up, right? And kind of take it to the next phase that they know is possible. But left on their own, it feels really hard to see. They don't have clarity on how to get there.
Yeah, which is so common. It's
Yeah.
absolutely so common. I mean, we go through it as well, and that's why we have mentors, but yeah. So the event, just so everyone knows, the event is on December 18th and 19th. It's a 2-day, 100% live virtual
It's
event.
interactive, so we won't just be talking at you, but we are going to be teaching, engaging, really helping you create that roadmap to building this beautiful business and ultimately a beautiful life. We're going to put the link down below
Mhm.
the video. It's going to be down here somewhere. And so absolutely go on and click on it. You can see all the amazing stuff that's included. The bonuses themselves are incredible.
I mean, the bonuses are pretty insane for this. I think
They are.
I think, and which actually you get immediate access to, which is pretty cool too. Because typically you have to wait until after
Right.
the events or something to get sent the bonuses, but you immediately enter into the membership kind of enrolled portal and get access to all that. But we're really excited about it. So it's Dr. Grace Lee and Myron Golden and ourselves over 2 days. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
So
we hope to see a lot of you guys there. If you have any questions, reach out. We can answer anything that you may have. But Grace, thank you so much.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to your people.
Yeah.
I know. I love it. And for sharing and being vulnerable and open with your story. And you are like the perfect example of overcoming odds.
Yes.
But not in a way that you just it wasn't the status quo, right? Like you leapfrog far past that.
Yep.
And I think you've used that as your fuel and your inspiration just to create a space for yourself in this world that is just impactful and, pretty incredible. So.
Yeah. If there's anyone to model yourself after, as far as setting goals for yourself and then just blowing right past them and doing it over and over again, it's Grace. So, and actually congratulations, Grace, on her YouTube channel just passed 10,000 subscribers, I believe this weekend. And
15,000 now.
Now you're at 15,000. You jumped 5,000 in like 3 days. That's crazy. Congratulations. So we'll actually put the link to your YouTube channel down below. You can find her. I believe it's just Dr. Grace Lee at YouTube, right? But yeah, subscribe. She's amazing. So this was just a taste of what you would get on her YouTube channel. So
all right, you guys.
All right. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you so much. Take care. And we'll see you on the inside.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
See you then.
Bye.